Thanks so much, Sophia. So first of all, I want to thank Lou and Sophia for allowing me to present and go through the very exciting subject of cutting supply costs without a compromise. I think this is a great way to kick off our four-part series because let's be honest, like supplies are up there. It's a pretty high cost for all of the dental practices. Dr. Lou and I just talked about why some of the practices are even selling to DSOs, and sometimes supplies, as funny as it may sound, could be the number one reason because it's just too hard, too expensive, and things like that. So it's a great subject to start with. And to be honest, I think it's one of the easiest to implement. So what I'm looking for is to give information today for everybody who's attending that you can literally implement it tomorrow. Nothing in this presentation will sound complicated. There are a lot of tactics, there are a lot of things that you can do in your own practice starting tomorrow. But I really want to give one or two or three things that people can walk away and actually implement within their practices. So with that being said, let's jump in. So first I want to ask this question. Does this look like your practice? So it's not a poll question, but hopefully people can respond in the chat with a thumbs up or thumbs down if this is your office, if this is how you place orders, or if this is how your trash bin look like with expired products. So, and then this could be your dental assistant who is sitting in the middle or standing in the middle of procedure and thinking, all right, did we order the lidocaine? Should I fax over some of my order pages? Do I need to text to the rep and see where things are at? And things like that. And so you can imagine, actually, at some point, we were following a dental assistant, trying to figure out how many individual tasks the dental assistant is doing during the day. And I don't know, again, if we can guess, but it was right around 3,000 individual tasks for the dental assistants to do during the day. So it's kind of madness. So it probably resonates with a lot of people how the practice look like. And I think the most interesting thing or the staggering thing is that the average private practice spends about 7 to 10% off of the collections on supplies. So imagine for $1 million practice, that could be up to $50,000, right? And we can, once we start thinking about the number of not just $2 difference on pouches or, $10 difference on a cavi wiper or $20 difference on a composite, I think once we start thinking about one big sum like $50,000, that starts ringing the bell for a lot of practices to say, wait a minute, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And so again, I would like for you guys to remember the number. If your practice right around a million or 1.5 or 2, we can do the math together, but you're losing about $50,000 a year. And my promise today is this: in this short presentation, Lou only gave me 3 hours today, so stick with me. We're going to try to go through all of the tactics and make sure, by the way, that was a joke, so it's only 30 minutes. We're going to try to go through a lot of things and basically boil down how you can get to 4% in less than 3 months. That would be my goal. And if I accomplish that, that would be phenomenal. And if I didn't, again, hold me accountable for that. Very quickly about myself, I don't want to go too deep into my bio, but basically, in the last 10 years, I spent most of my time working with private practices, learning and trying to understand why an office spends a lot of money on supplies. And just in short, if I can summarize, I'm the guy who drives around the country visiting all of the offices in person. So again, in my day life with Zen One, I run a software company where I go and meet all of our customers. And my goal was at some point to meet the first 300 members, which we did accomplish. The first 300 members that signed up, I met them in person. And usually the conversations are all about, do we have the tip-up bins? Do we store supplies properly, which we're going to talk in a later series of the webinars? And then how do we save money on supplies? All right, so poll number one, let's do it right now. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to managing supply costs? So you can answer A, B, C, D, or E, and that's not enough time to compare vendors, prices keep increasing despite efforts, lack of visibility into what's being ordered, and we don't have a clear system for tracking supply spent. So let's give it a second. All right, so what we're seeing is not enough time to compare vendors, 31%. Prices keep increasing despite efforts. That would be an interesting to dive in and see what you guys are all experiencing. Lack of visibility into what's being ordered. That's a great insight, actually, 3%, because that used to be a lot higher number. So hopefully you all are using spreadsheets and things like that. We don't have a clear system for tracking supply spent. That's pretty common. All right, so we should probably keep going. First of all, let's talk about, do you have a budget? So, and we talked about in the poll a little bit, 95% of dental practices don't have a budget or don't have the tools to track the spending. And so what you will see is a lot of practices we talk to on a daily basis, the first question we ask is, hey, what's your budget? Number one is we don't know. Number two is the doctor doesn't know. So that never even gets to the lead assistant so that the person can keep track of it. And number three, you might know the number. The CPA might come in and say, oh, you're spending too much on supplies. But again, it's not clear what the budget should be. And in that case, the simple formula, you can actually write it down. But that's probably the simplest thing I can describe in this presentation today is when the month starts, right? So in a couple of days, we're going to go into November. November 1st, you go to your practice management software, whatever you're using, you're looking at the collections, right? And you're picking the number. Let's just say it's 1,115,031. And you're multiplying that by 4%. And that's your budget. So you're going to take that number, put it in the spreadsheet, which I will show you a little bit later. And I actually have in the option to download the spreadsheet that will allow you to track the budget. And that number will go right there to see what your budget. The spreadsheet that I will provide will also have a field where you can input the collections. But again, it's very important to know. The other part where I see offices make a mistake is you have a budget. Depending on what the booking system you have, the QuickBooks or Xero or FreshBooks or whatever the people are using these days, a lot of times I see things getting lumped in together, meaning office supplies go into the dental supply budget, lab supplies go into the dental supply budget, implant, Invisalign, CAD/CAM, instruments. So all these things should be removed from the true dental supply budget and categorized separately. Again, in my spreadsheet, I'll show you how to do that. So this is very critical to make sure that dental supplies are separate and your office supply, lab supplies, implants, Invisalign, CAD/CAM instruments are separate. Now, how to order dental supplies. These are simple 5 things that I always recommend to any dental office. Implement the spreadsheet, right? You can go with the software. We can talk about that later in the questions. So if you guys have questions about what software to use, I'm a little bit biased, but I can show you or I can describe what's out there that you can at least give it a try. But the first thing you should do is implement the spreadsheet that you will be able to download. You will put the budget, and then for each individual order, you'll be able to put the number in so that that adds up to the bottom where you can then say, all right, that's how much we spent. Is it within a budget or is it over the budget? The next thing is every office should be ordering dental supplies on a bi-weekly basis, not once a month, not bulk orders every 6 months, not once a week, not every day. It's every other Tuesday. And I can't stress enough that it should be Tuesday. So for all of you out there listening, pick a Tuesday. And then after that, every other Tuesday, you're doing ordering. It should be after the morning huddle. So let's just say you start at 7:30 is your morning huddle. And the person who does ordering, lead assistant, she should have a block in the schedule, not to do and see the patients, but to actually go and do the inventory or do the ordering. So it's every Tuesday block for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And it also could be bigger time slot in the beginning as you're getting started. But as you ramp it up, I have some of my offices that are spending 15 minutes of every 2 weeks, right, on orders because everything is streamlined. But you're putting that time block for the lead assistant in a schedule. Now, the third one is controversial, no free goods. So I'm sure somebody in the chat right now will argue with me, but I'm a big believer that no free goods. I can even prove to you that you can buy things from name your supplier that could be very expensive. And no, don't go for free goods and control the quantity and still stay within 4% on your collections. A lot of times what you see people chasing free goods, and what essentially you're doing is the manufacturer is offloading their warehouse to your office. You become a warehouse. So they don't want to carry the product. So essentially they're saying, oh, I'm going to throw 3 + 2 or 7 + 5, and now you're going to store my product for me. And then the other problem is, when do you get these free goods? Nobody knows how to track. It could arrive in 3 months or 6 months. So we can talk about this subject separately, but I'm a big believer that no free goods should be in your even like horizon on how you order dental supplies. Number 4, orders over the budget must be approved by the doctor. Again, if you implement the spreadsheet, then anything that's over the budget has to be approved by the doctor. If you own the practice, take a look. Anything that's in the shopping cart that's sitting and waiting to be submitted, and your dental assistant tells you that's over the budget, just review it. And a lot of times it's going to be about the quantities. It's going to be week 3 or week 4 of the month, and the assistant adds 10 boxes of lidocaine. What you can do is you can just leave one box of lidocaine and say, you know what, next week when we need to, and we're going to be doing biweekly order again, that's when we order enough set of supplies. But that week, if we're over the budget, we're just going to purchase what we need for that time remaining for the month. So it's very, very critical. And then number 5 is if you have the spreadsheet, I would highly recommend to bonus your lead assistant if she accomplishes the 4% on the rolling average. So the first month, your dental assistant is under 4%, not a bonus yet. Second month, not a bonus yet. Third month, collectively, she's under the budget. Now, month 4, we start paying the commission or the bonus in that case to the lead assistant. So these are the top 5 things that I highly recommend. This is the spreadsheet that we talked about. As you can see, I have my collections right up here. I think I can do this here. So these are my collections. And then dental supplies, you can see best out there, 2.9, amazing, 3.5, great, 4, good, 4.5. I would even add terrible, 5%. And then your vendors are all listed here. So anytime you need to place an order or your lead assistant, she basically goes in and puts the quantities, the total, sales tax, shipping, everything included here, so that now you can see a total at the bottom, your percent of the collections, your target, and then benchmark. And on the just what you see, a 3-month rolling average is what you will see right here in the percentages. The spreadsheet will be available for the download, but it's pretty straightforward. Again, you put in collections for the month, and then you're just going off of each individual vendor, and then it totals up at the bottom. All right, next step. Okay. Hopefully we can go next. All right. So let's talk about the big elephant in the room. So a lot of people ask me about this magical component of any dental practice called sales reps, right? Hopefully there are no sales reps on this call because we got to bring the truth. All of the sales reps that you work with, they're paid on commission. And I hope you guys know that. All of the sales reps are driven to sell you more products. The more they sell, the more they make. It's just the truth, right? And so in that case, I would like for every office that is listening today to be aware that that's the dynamic that you're living in. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's good. It's just what it is, right? And so if you continue using your sales reps, just know that it's going to cost you money. The more products you buy, the more incentivized they are. And so your job is to set the budget and make sure that it doesn't you don't spend more than the budget is. There's room for sales reps, and we're going to talk about this here. But before we do that, let's talk about the poll number 2. And Sophie, if you don't mind to restaurant the poll number 2. How often do you evaluate or renegotiate? Oh, why poll is here? Renegotiate your vendor contracts every 3 to 6 months, once a year, only when prices go up. We've never formally reviewed them. So I'm really curious, and we'll give it a second as well. All right, we should see the poll results. All right, we never formally reviewed them. Guys, do you see a problem? You basically have a rep that sets the price and you don't review it. That's not good. That needs to change. And again, we'll talk about that too, about the strategies, but let's keep going. So that's actually very interesting. And Sophia, I hope we can save that for the Q&A portion. That pool is very, very interesting. So let's talk about how to work with sales reps. So use them to benefit your practice, not the other way around. There are way too many times I heard, but we play golf on Thursdays, or he's my best friend, or my rep saved my rear end so many times when my equipment went down. So let's have the processes in the office that will help you control your equipment better versus relying on the rep that sells you the stuff that's going to be very expensive. So again, I'm not against the reps. All I'm saying is there's a place for the rep that you need to design that place for them. It shouldn't be all over the place. I see some reps come to the office, look at the shelf, they open the shelves, they put a list together, they walk away, stuff shows up. Yes, it's convenient, but it shouldn't be that way. Purchase from multiple places, right? So establish accounts, not just with hypothetically Shine, have one with Patterson, have one with Darby, have mid-tier suppliers. They're very, very reliable right now. And we could talk about the different suppliers as well, but have multiple places to purchase from. Do not sign long-term contracts. So a lot of these supply companies will try to come to you and say, you know what, I have this program, or I have this membership program. I would like you to sign a contract with me. And now you're stuck with them because you have to buy 75% of supplies with them. And as soon as that volume drops down, I don't know, there's some penalties and things like that. And again, just a reminder that all sales reps work on commissions. Just remember that. And then let's talk about the real world tactics. So number one is set the really clear budget on what the supply should be. And you could share with your rep and say, look, this is what my budget is. Now, like I said, share with your favorite rep. Ask for the prices in writing. If you could get a spreadsheet with a date, with the name of the rep and the name of the company, and ideally on the spreadsheet, it should say that we honor these prices for the next 12 months, or depending on the cycle of the year. So right now, you can't ask for the 12-month commitment. You can only ask until January 1st, 2026, because that's when the prices go up from the manufacturers. But if you're the good time to start negotiating is actually right now or no later than January 15th, because that's when the prices are set. And so you're basically looking to have a spreadsheet from the supplier with all of the common products that you're currently buying from them with the prices that are locked in. Now, the key is you have to save that spreadsheet. You have to put it somewhere in the folder, like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, so that you can easily reference to that spreadsheet when the invoices come in. A lot of times you'll see that if you look at the invoice in March, your cavi wipes are no longer $10.29. They will be $10.45, $11.26, and then it could be $12.19. So that A, you have a commitment from the rep that says these prices are good until the date on the spreadsheet. And when you get the invoices, you're going to have to train your assistant on how to compare the invoice to the actual spreadsheet. And the first thing you have to do is to make sure that it's stored in the easy to access place like a Google Drive or something that somebody even on the phone can pull it up and say, all right, this is my invoice, this is my price that was saved from the sales rep. Watch for price increases every 2 months. Do not fall. This is my favorite. Doc, focus on production. Supplies are just a small percent of your expenses. How many times you guys heard that? Can somebody put a thumbs down in the chat? I would love to see that. I hear that phrase all the time. Who cares? It's such a small amount, Doc. Don't worry about it. It's only a small percentage of your production. So first of all the sales reps are trained to use the production numbers versus collections. I like collections because that's what's actually in the bank account. I don't care about the productions. And so the second thing is, it's as you run the business, you should know all your numbers. It's not just yes, you should focus on production, but you should also control the expenses. So I don't like that phrase. And as I said before, use multiple suppliers. And so the other part that I would like for you to keep an eye on is reconcile expenses. I actually see this a lot. If you use the top 3 suppliers that are out there, what they like to do is they like to lump together in the statement not only supplies, but it's going to be your CEREC blocks, your service, your repairs, your sterilizer went down and they repaired it, and all these things. So a lot of times when I go to the offices, and this office that I'm sharing the screenshot with, this office had $16,000 worth of Patterson bills last year. And they called me and said, we don't spend that much on dental supplies. What's going on? And so I actually had to go to the office, put all the invoices together, and it was broken down by supplies, lab, implant, instruments, handpieces, equipment, compliance, and other resale and marketing services. And so you can see why I like to keep things separate. Like these supplies were only $16,000, but the instruments were $2,400. And again, I'm not a CPA, but you can ask a CPA that the instruments should be entered separately because it's a separate Section 179 deduction. So again, it needs to be organized better. And so I'm a big proponent that all of the supplies should be categorized correctly. Your big bookkeeper should know how to look at the statement and say what is actually supplies and what is actually service and what is actually instruments and equipment. Now, the other thing that I highly recommend to do, if you do use the top 3 companies, then ask them to separate those invoices. If you had service, ask them to send the invoice only for service, not lump it together and pay by the invoice, not by the statement. So if you have a statement, break it down. Separate supplies goes in a separate charge in a credit card, and make a note and say, okay, we paid $4,500, that supplies. Then separate charge for service, separate charge for the sterilizer. And that will save you a lot of headache moving forward, even if your bookkeeper doesn't know how to do it. But by now, you're probably all using some dental-related CPA firm or the bookkeeping company. All right, next, we're kind of getting close to the end. And so the key takeaways that I would like for you to have is, number one, how to set the budget. It's the last month collections multiplied by 4%. If you still have any reservations about collections versus production, I'm happy to talk about it on the Q&A section. Number two, biweekly orders on Tuesdays. Again, if you walk away and you literally put in your practice management software for Susan, your lead dental assistant, to place orders every other Tuesday, but the Tuesday that doesn't fall on the ordering, she's going to do the inventory. So every Tuesday should be blocked for 45 minutes. You will actually do your practice a big favor. Orders over the budget have to be reviewed and approved by the doctor. No free goods. And add up all the totals in a spreadsheet after the orders have been submitted. So you're running against the total in the budget and you know where you add throughout the month. All right. So the big aha moment that I would like for you guys to think about, especially the doctors on the call, that a dollar saved is a dollar in your pocket. I actually heard this concept from one of our doctors in Texas, and he was so clear about it. He's like, Tiger, everybody got paid. If I bring a dollar of revenue, I still have to pay marketing. I still have to pay credit card fees. I still have to pay my team. I still have to pay this, and that. And so out of the dollar in revenue, I probably have 20 cents left. But a dollar saved on supplies, at least in the subject that we're talking about today, is the dollar in your pocket. And so I would like for you guys to walk away from this webinar with just this one simple thought. When you look at the gauze and you can save $4, I mean, the $4 is in your pocket. If you look at your total expense and you're running 8% off of the collections or whatever your current supplies expense is, that 4% that you can save, that's in your pocket, that you don't have to pay anybody. I mean, you can bonus your lead assistant who's going to be in charge, and I'm a big fan of that. But you don't have to pay anybody else. Everybody got paid. And so the next steps, we'll talk about that. Hey, I mean, the first thing, please set the budget. Number two, this is the download the budget tracker. So you will be able to click this link and download the spreadsheet that I showed you. So when you download it, basically it's a Google template. You just go to the file button and say create a copy and then store it in your own Google Drive. So and basically what I recommend you to do, you're all using Google, create a Google folder called budget. In that Google folder, save this template and then save the spreadsheets with prices from your reps. So it's easy for you to go and find supply budget, then this is the spreadsheet, and then spreadsheets from all of your suppliers with prices. And I would highly recommend that you guys register for the next webinar, which is going to be Inventory Chaos, where we specifically going to talk about physically organizing your supplies using tip-up bins, open shelves, and things like that. It's a full concept that we're recommend at Zen. And right now we're going to stop for questions.
All right, there's a couple of questions in the chat. Someone said I was not aware you could negotiate with reps, and other people agreed too, that they were unaware of that. And it's a small office. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense to buy supplies once a month?
No. No. I mean, we can talk about every 2 weeks. Just every 2 weeks you're buying supplies. I think number one reason is I haven't seen an office organized enough where they can really hit the home run with once a month. They always forget something. Lidocaine, Relax, something is oh my God, we forgot to order, and now you're paying shipping because you only need $1 of lidocaine and you're going to pay $12 on shipping. So just put it on a schedule every 2 weeks, like a clockwork, every 2 weeks. It's in the schedule. Just placing orders. If we forgot something, we still should have enough. In the next 2 weeks, we're just going to buy it again.
Another question is, can you trust the lead DA in ordering the right supplies without doctor consultation within the budget?
It's a two-part question. One is, if you have the right systems and DA has proven that she can be trusted, then yes, then it could be a cultural question. But the first, then, it's probably what the person is relying to. Do you have the systems in place? So first is it will require some work on a doctor's end, meaning you have to download everything you buy from all these different suppliers. You just go to their portal, download order history into Excel spreadsheet, look at the Excel spreadsheet and say, all right, we're buying these gloves. We no longer need to buy it. And then using our spreadsheet, you can create a second tab and just say commonly purchased products. And you can say, we're buying gloves from here. We're buying composite from here, lidocaine from here. Or even if it's all from one place, you're just saying, this is what we're buying. And then you just creating a system where you say, my dear lead assistant, I like to pick the name Susan. Susan, here's the list. You're just going to pick the quantities and here's where we're buying. You're going to go to that website, put in a shopping cart, and I'd like to review the shopping cart before you check out. Now, the second part where I know that the doctor is struggling with when it comes to trusting dental assistant is when you want to price shop. meaning you added everything into Henry Schein website, for example, and now you want the dental assistant to go through 5 different places to price compare and price shop and just pick the right place. Again, I'm a little biased. We're on a software that allows to do all that in one place, but you could technically do that. You can have your dental assistant just go and compare one by one. And I think to have some kind of peace of mind, there should be products that you say, no matter what, you're buying these 5 items from this place and nowhere else. So that you know your burr, your like 557, your relax, and your bond comes from the places that you absolutely know. You don't allow your dental assistant to price shop that. But everything else, you should be okay with getting the different gloves. So if she made a mistake, so be it. Like, it's okay. That's in my mind, at least.
Okay, going back to the doctor that had the question about the compliance, he says it's the slide with the 16K expense from the office that you had as up. On the spreadsheet, your columns had listed supplies, lab, implant
Oh,
instrument, handpieces,
this
equipment,
one.
compliance, and others. Yes, what is compliance?
So it really depends. It could be a medical health kit that they purchased through Patterson or something like that. It could be some forms. So sometimes it happens that stuff that should be compliance related, and it whatever the word compliance is pretty big. It just gets lumped into the supplies. Again, I like to, for example, if you buy what is it? I think it's called Health First, like a medical kit, like emergency kit. I put it under compliance. It's not supplies. It's going to be sitting there for 12 months, and we're going to check in 12 months, make sure nothing is expired. So that, in my mind, should be separate from dental supplies. And I'm glad the person asked to clarify that.
And the last question we have is what are cheaper sites for supplies that's cheaper than Net32, Frontier Dental Supply Clinic?
You have to do your homework. So we have similar sites on Zen. On our website, we do due diligence. We talk to CEOs. We talk to people. You have to be okay with gray market. Gray market is not a black market, meaning it's not that somebody made a fake product and slapped the 3M Relax label on it. No, no, no. It's the 3M product that was made by 3M. It was just shipped to a different country and then brought back to the United States. And now 3M and other manufacturers don't support these items. So Net32 Frontier specifically, they're known for selling gray market products. Again, it's everybody's own decision. Either you want to use it or not. My recommendations has always been if it goes in the patient mouth, it's not worth it. Just buy something that's authorized and can be warranted by the manufacturer. And if it's pouches, I mean, who cares, to be honest with you? So that's been my take. I'm not so sure about other places, but that at least how we look at it. But overall, Frontier is a reliable company. Net32 is going through some changes right now. We've seen that. Supply Clinic has been acquired by another distributor, so they're kind of forced by a specific supplier. So you got to watch out in the dynamics of the market as well.
So, Tiger, I'd love to answer a couple of these questions also
Yes.
with you. So when you're on Net32 or another website, and there's a product that sells for $100, and you see it being sold on one of those websites, and it's $40, I can tell you the product is gray. No manufacturer is marking anything up 60%. So when you see products that are so remarkably low, much lower in cost, routinely those are gray products. Not all the time, but to what Tiger said, those are not meant to be sold in the United States. They've come from other areas. So I'm very particular not wanting to order gray products in my office. And I'm just saying, so what I'd like to do though is kind of go back a couple things. Helen wrote compliance also could be like spore testing, sharps, like she said, emergency kits. I couldn't agree more. It goes back to what Tiger said.
So, and actually, Justin, that was such a good question, and I think that's where I'll talk about Zen. The entire idea was for Zen is how do we build a place for private practices only? We don't work with DSOs that bring basically the level the playing field for private offices to know that, hey, here's the site where I get the best price on my supplies. So you can spend a time to no end trying to find the better prices. And I can give you websites, Justin, to even find expired products. Like I was so shocked that somebody's selling expired caviar wipes, and they were trying to sell their platform or their website or that distributor to us, to Zen, as a legit distributor. We kicked them out and we said, no, we're not going to put expired products on Zen. And so my point is, we try to think really hard about what's the place for Zen. And it's very simple. It's the one-stop shop for a private practice to go and add your own suppliers like Shine, Patterson, Bank, or Darby that you're buying from right now using the login information. We pull the data, we put it on Zen, and we say, hey, you can actually buy the same products cheaper from other suppliers, and we will do it automatically. But the key too is now we have an AI tool that will say this particular caviar wipe or this particular pouch that's made by your favorite brand is actually available from another brand, and it's costing you, instead of $18, it's actually $5. And so we call that a similar brand option. So it's brand to brand or brand to similar brand. And that's all automated. It's all within a Zen. But it also gives you access to so many other distributors on the platform that you can just go in, either connect suppliers or use our partner suppliers to buy the dental supplies. And I always try to make this point. Can you find something even more cheaper than Zen? Absolutely. Like there are cases that you can go, and I'm not even talking about expired products, but you could probably find something so dirt cheap. I have question is it reliable? Is that supplier always going to be there to provide you that product for that cost? What we're trying to do with our suppliers and negotiate, for example, right now we've negotiated caviar wipes with Frontier at something like $9.41. The key is they're going to keep that same price for our members for the ongoing basis. And I think that's what the difference with Zen is. And we're also removing all the nonsense like extra weight shipping and things like that. It's just all, after I think it's $16 per order, it's all free shipping. So you only need to order 3-4 canister and it's a free shipping with no extra shipping fees and things like that.
I do think that for everybody on here, the reason a procurement platform, and there are a variety of different procurement platforms out there, but the whole idea is for price transparency and to allow dentists and their assistants to place an order, have you do all the work through AI, and basically get them the best pricing, and then they can choose if they want to order from one distributor or multiple distributors. I mean, that's really the baseline. And then within your tool system, they can set a budget and track. Isn't that all correct?
I think that's a key where a lot of offices are coming to Zen for, to help track the budget.
Right. So I want everybody to understand that spending your assistant's time or your time going to Net32 and all these different distributors is truly taxing on your time. So I want to I'm going to close tonight, Tiger, and then if there are any more questions, we'll take them. So first off, I want to thank Tiger for being here.